Good evening. I was on my way to go and party, but as it turns out, I'm having a hard time getting an Uber and also a cab. So I decided that I would do my live segment on YouTube since I have not done it in 2 weeks. Due to my arthritis, I've been feeling crappy and I'm not good at hiding my pain, so I decided that I would not attempt to go live during that time. And yes, it started last 2 Thursdays ago, I believe, when we had a big storm, and it affects me. I mean, it was my whole body. So there you go. Um, as usual, I'll read my mission statement, and that is when life is difficult, many people feel alone, believing nobody can truly understand their struggles. But in truth, although the story is different for each of us, we all live with and through the same emotional experiences: pain, joy, passion. These feelings are what I consider to be common bond between human beings. It is my sincere desire that a person reading this book realizes that someone else has felt what they have and that they are not alone. And we're not alone. And that's the beauty about being alive, that we're not alone. I think that many of us choose to feel alone because I'm going to try this out without my glasses, because that is an easy experience to have. You don't have to put in effort when you are alone. You can just do it how you want to do it, feel it how you want to feel it. But if you share what you're going through with someone else, you run the risk of them having an opinion about it, first of all. And then, secondly, you find that you just may want to share, but you don't want to endure the pain that comes with the sharing of your pain, if you get what I mean. But tonight I'm talking about some random things that have happened throughout the last couple of weeks. The first thing that I'd like to touch on is this thing with Sharon Osbourne. You know, her true colors have been revealed uh, in a way that she probably would prefer that they not have been. And when I say that, because she chose to stand beside someone who is questionable in as far as how much of a true racist this person really is, and his true motives behind responding the way that he does when he does not get what he wants, that narcissistic behavior. But for me, what stood out is that she used the same excuse, reason that white supremacists use to uphold his behavior and her willingness to uh, back up his behavior, because they were brought up, to admire the royals and to be loyal to royalty. That and that so that encompasses all that the royalty believes and what they stand by and what they promote. White supremacists here in America do the same thing when it comes regards to the Confederate flag and the old antebellum South and all of that stuff. They feel that that's a part of their heritage, so they get to bring that into the present day and manipulate and you find a reason to be cruel to or to downplay racism in this country. That it's okay for them to hold on to their racist ideologies because it's a part of their history. Really. Sharon's tears are for herself because she has been found out. She has been proven to be the racist that she is. But what really got me was Cheryl Underwood's tears because she really thought that Sharon, or she made herself believe that Sharon was a racist and that she didn't see racism coming from her or hearing it or, or whatever. And I was like, Cheryl, really? You know, girl, is it the long wig? Is it the makeup? Is it, the prestige that you feel from sitting in the spot that you are? There's no way that you did not know that this woman was a racist. You just chose to accept her, and a lot of times that's what we do. And it's always to our detriment because she tore into Cheryl's ass. This same person that Cheryl was upholding as being her friend and never seeing her in a racist light and up and down and in and out. This same person lit into you, you know? I don't get it. One thing that I will definitely admit to is having prejudices and being discriminatory to certain degree, in certain ways. I don't have to go into detail in the areas that I find that I am that way. But I will say this is that I could not imagine growing up in America and not being prejudiced, at the least. No, I don't consider myself as a racist. I don't think that uh, Black people are superior to white people as a whole. But in certain areas, we do excel and we are able to perform at levels that astound them. But we know who we are. We know what we could do. And that's why we challenge ourselves to always be the best. Don't make excuses. As much as they try to say that we make excuses and that we're whining, we still seem to rise and still seem to be able to make the strides necessary to make it in this society. Whereas as soon as some of them hit a bump in the road, they killing themselves, their family, people around them. That brings me to the next random thing that happened. This guy, this 21-year-old, that goes and shoots and kills 8 people, and the police chief says he was sexually frustrated. So why wasn't the crime rape? Why was it murder? And why were the targets basically Asian people? If you're sexually frustrated, why would murder be an option? You still gonna be sexually frustrated. Now, some people would say that men see guns, as an extension of their penises, but that was not the case with this young guy. It was a hate crime. And where this police chief and this guy and Sharon, where their intersect is, they don't want to be seen as as racist, and that's what they are. So Sharon cried and quit her job, and this guy got frustrated for whatever reason, and he goes and he takes his frustrations out on Asian women, and then the police chief, because he's confronted with his racism, he wants to minimize or try to minimize this act of racial terrorism and say that it was sexually motivated. What does that benefit? It only benefits them in a morbid, sick type of way. See, I'm not a racist. It was because I haven't had sex or I didn't want to pay for sex. And I think, what, I guess, you know, we'll see. And then another tie-in is with Sharon is she was like, "Who am I to be racist?" You think because you were fat once, or that at one time that you were poor, Sharon. You're a very savvy businesswoman. You've kept your crazy ass husband's name in the media and in the rocking circles for almost 40 years. You're cunning and conniving. That's who you are to be considered a racist. You've used your lawyers to try to hide behind uh, the truth, trying to keep people from saying things about you that were true. But it all caught up with you. Even at 79 years old, you could pay the price. Now, this young man that killed the women in Atlanta, he's 21. And essentially, any freedom that he could have ever taken a part of is gone. He'll spend the rest of his life in jail. If they may give him the death penalty, but they may not, because we know how those things go. And then the other random thing that really caught my attention is this fool that kills four of his woman's family members over a stimulus check that he didn't earn. She offered to give him $450. I guess that's after she saw he was just really going to act a fool. But that wasn't enough. He felt like he should get half of it. Based on what? You don't work. He was recently released from prison because he was in there for murdering someone. They let him out early. They love to do that. You know, they give him 100 years and make him do 10 or 20, if that. And then here he is. He only had killed one person. Now his count is up to 5 and attempted murder on her. Now, they say you can't help who you love. But for me, one of my first questions in any relationship that I may enter into, I don't have a problem if you've been to prison, but if it's been for rape or murder, we can't even talk. Because I know for a fact that those type of tendencies, you have to lose part of your humanity to be able to perpetrate those crimes. To take a life, you have to be lifeless somewhere inside you. To violate someone's body by force, you have to have no compassion for the privacy of another. So therefore, I'm bodacious and it may not, I don't know, I say stuff and I like to do me and I don't know what the trigger would be. So my question is, why were you with this man in the first place? And look what your choice of man has done to your tight knit family. When I read the article, it was really heartbreaking, to hear them say how close they were. And that's why all those random family members were at the house. I mean, I think it was what, her sister, her sister in law, nephews, her brother. I mean, that's sort of rare to just within the day to have, you know, cousins and unless you're a close family at your house just chilling. The brother tried to protect his sister, and so he shoots him. And then he turns around and goes back and double checks everybody. Shoot him again. Make sure they did. Then he goes and get away and hold the police at bay for 4 hours somewhere. It's just like, wow. And it's not about where we coming to, because murder and mayhem and all of that is clearly been around since Bible times. The Bible is one of the most, violent books I ever read. All kinds of violence. So it's not really about that. It's about what happens to a person that allows them to disregard humanity and with themselves being humans. That's always my question. Why, how can you go past that? Now, I will be honest. When I was married and my husband did something to me that just totally threw me off, and for a whole week, I dreamed of a different way to kill him. I found out on a Friday. That's that Friday night, that Saturday night, that Sunday night, that Monday night, that Tuesday night, that Wednesday night, that Thursday night. I dreamed of a different way of killing him. But when that next Friday morning came, I didn't wake up with murder in my heart. I realized that the problem lied with me. And I called the psychiatric floor at Evanston Hospital, told them why I needed to see a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. And the man said to me, ma'am, your reason and your understanding of your reason is the most profound and awareness I've ever experienced. And I've been doing this intake for 25 years. Because I was aware that no matter what he did and did towards me, ultimately it's my responsibility how I want to react and how I want to respond. And ultimately, I want to be the best human being that I possibly could be. Even in my distress, even in my despair, even in my anger, I want to come back to my humanity. I don't want to lose so much of myself that I take away someone else. And in that understanding and in that revelation that I came to, it gave me the opportunity to go towards actualization of who I am as a human being. You have to want more for yourself. You have to ask more of yourself to be able to discover the best of yourself. You know, it 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 uh, it really does just come down to that. Who is it that controls you? Who is it that determines how you're going to respond and how you choose to react to life as you follow life's journey? Who is that? And who gets to do that? Now, this other thing is with Kirk Franklin and his 33-year-old son. I never listened to the conversation because it didn't matter. Once I read the headline that he was 33, it didn't matter. Because at some point, no matter what happens to you, you have to take up your cloth and do your work. And I can guarantee you that boy didn't miss a meal. And even his mother came out on Kirk's side because he was given too much. Sometimes you can do too much and it's neglectful. And that's what happened. They neglected him early on by doing too much for him. And now here at 33 years old, he feels entitled. And then once he does not get what he wants, then he wants to decide that he's going to try to discredit his father. You know, really. My youngest daughter came to me and she said, "Did you listen to the video that when Kirk talked to his son the way that he did?" I said, she didn't know he was 33. I said, first of all, he's 33. And then when I said that, that changed her perception a little too. She said, but a parent should never talk to a kid like that. No, once you become an adult, I said, sometimes, I feel like I'm going to go there with you, telling you the same thing over and over, asking for the same thing over and over. At some point, there has to be a stopping point to the bullshit. She said that they're trying to get him to take responsibility. No, cut him off and he'll find a way, or he won't. And however Kirk felt the need to talk to him, you could be guaranteed that it was warranted. And when the mama put the stamp of approval on it, then I know that it was. She was tired of dealing with him too. He probably went to her first with whatever his demands were. Then he gonna try to, shame Kirk into it, giving him or doing for him or whatever. It don't matter. You 33 years old. It's time, but no matter what the situation is. And then to find out that they've been through therapy and, counseling and all kinds of stuff. So effort was put in to bridge whatever this disconnect was. But they did too much for him. Because he thinks that if he hollers and quick kicks and screams still, that he'll get what he wants. But when Kirk pulled out the big guns on his ass, literally telling him, if you disrespect me like that again, I will put my foot up your ass. Oh, it got real for the brother. So now you're going to tape and try to discredit him. Listen, I became a mother when I was 17 years old. A lot of issues and stuff that I had was nowhere near rectified. It's not so much that I did the best that I could do as much as I sought to do the best that I could do. And then by me saying that is that I didn't just lean on what I knew. I actually read books and I went to therapy, and I went to therapy with my oldest daughter. I did whatever I could to try to lessen the blow of my dysfunction. I had severe anger issues. You know, it was some of it was cultural. It was due to a lot of different things. Um, some of it was due to lack of self confidence, and that made me angry because I felt like it should have been not. I don't want to say easier. Uh, I it should have just came to me because I too was given a lot, but my natural personality to achieve and to be ambition overrode the desire to play the victim role. I dealt with my issues. So when my children got old enough, I told them, if you still have problems with me, we can talk about it. I have no problems listening to it. And if you say I did it, I'm not going to say I didn't. I don't remember everything. But what I suggest is that you get some therapy. Because what I will tell you is that when I was wrong, I have apologized. You know, I've always been that type of mother. And, if that stuff hasn't is not enough for you to be able to move forward in your relationship with me, then I suggest you get some help with you. Because that was me before there was you. And it's only so much I'm going to adjust to be able to have a relationship with you. I lay my life down bringing you into the world. That's all you get. That's all you get. And then once you were here, I made sure you never missed a meal, that you were adequately clothed, that you had a roof over your head. I protected you as much as I possibly could. And I definitely fed your mind and your soul. I taught you the importance of of having a strong work ethic and the importance of being the best person that you can be. Miss me with your bullshit, baby. Whatever other issues you got, what you didn't get or what you felt like you should have got, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Except for get you some help. Because that's what I did. I went to therapy twice in my adult life and did a whole lot of self-help and still do. I write in my journal every day, every other day, but it keeps up to date with my life. I leave my issues on that paper, or I try to seek understanding as to why I feel a certain way through writing. Writing is a beautiful tool. It's a excellent way to purge yourself of a lot of things and also to come to some type of understanding or reach a clarity to be able to figure out, what's really going on with you. But what you see is that some people choose to pick up a gun, like this guy that goes to Kamala's house, the vice president of the United States. He writes a text to his mother. Today I am going to handle my problem. Parks 3 miles away from her house. We had 113 rounds, 133 rounds, and it had an AR-15. Kamala, Vice President Kamala, is his problem. So you hear people trying to justify, well, if he really wanted to hurt her, why did he park 3 miles away from her? Because he wanted to be able to escape. I can guarantee you, with his military training and all of that he mapped out, a route to be able to try to get back to that car undetected after he did what he wanted. He was trying to figure out how he was going to really make his mark, and he drove from his home to her, and he had all that time to turn around or to make a better choice, but he still chose to go out in front of this woman's house. And then once he's approached, they find out what his intentions are. See, I'm not saying that I haven't been there, but what did I say I did? When I focused on hurting somebody else for almost 7 days in a row, I was fuming, I was enraged, and it infiltrated my sleep. And my days were just, I don't even know how I made it through it. But on that 6th day, I looked at me. What does this mean for you if you do that to him? What does that mean for your children? What does that mean for his family? And what does that mean for my family? You are not alone in your feelings, and definitely not in your actions. Even if you do something that's right, there's still consequences. They just may be positive. They're still going to have an effect. There's cause and effect in every action that we take. And we need to always be mindful of that. Always be mindful of that. Just because you think that you deserve something, or just because your mama told you this, or your country told you that, we all come here with our own minds. And no matter how much somebody tries to force you to be what they think you should be, you still have that choice. They want to say this guy that was outside the vice president's house, that he was schizophrenic, but his actions were very determined. Somebody that's led by a voice, or which most schizophrenics are when they commit violent crimes and stuff. It's not calculated like that. They wouldn't park 3 miles away. They probably would drive right on up in the house. Their actions are more random, more scattered than to actually, lay out a plan. I don't know. You have to ask yourself, why are some people unable to be held accountable, allow themselves to be held accountable for their actions and their thoughts before they even act? It's interesting. So the other thing that I've found real interesting over this last year of the pandemic is there's been no shootings, teenagers shooting um, in a mass way. Now, what was on the rise is parents killing their children, being physically abusive to them, displaying their abusive attitudes while the kids are on school, and the mother that came on the video and the teacher said, "Who is that naked?" It's hard. It's hard to hide your dysfunction in the place where you display it the most. And this year has really been profoundly capable of proving that fact. People masturbating while they're supposed to be at school, they online. The uncle trying to molest the girl, she on camera. Just he been doing that every day, and he's so sick his mind frame was still there. It never clicked to him that she's at school at home now. The mother that walked around naked in the back, she does that every day. The little boy just you know caught on tape and just being themselves. The parents in the Missouri area where the teacher and the principal, they had to go around to the pawn shops to get the kids' tablets back because the parents done pawned the tablets, prohibiting their children from receiving an education for their addiction 9 times out of 10. All these different things, that 2020 revealed is just simply amazing. That it took not being able to leave your environment of dysfunction. It took that scenario to really, really show why there's so much violence, why there's so much hate. You know, the parents, the children who turned their parents in, who were involved in the raid on the Capitol on January the 6th. Absolutely amazing. And they justified their behavior. The woman who wrote on Facebook before she went to Washington that she would rather be dead than to see Biden in office. I'll be doggone if she didn't get her wish. And she was shot by an FBI agent. Words are powerful. And you can say what you want. She set herself up for that. She manifested that. They were telling her not to come in. She's going to come in anyway. So she ended up losing her life. Did she deserve it? Of course she deserved it. She made a conscious choice to continue to break the law in the face of law enforcement. She had already decided that she was willing to die for Whatever the cause was, there is no more doubt that there's two Americas. When Black Lives Matter was out in front of the Capitol, how many National Guard did they have? Thousands? But the white folk go, they able to get in the building, sitting at the desk, taking mementos. The police actually letting them in. It was absolutely interesting. These are the same people that would sit back and talk about black people breaking the law, looting, vandalizing. But it's okay when white people do it. When the shooting happened between of the neighbors, where the neighbor said that the husband and wife was putting snow in his yard. The wife got a gun, the neighbor got a gun. She selling wolf tickets. He pulls out his gun and shoot both of them. Then go in the house, get an automatic weapon, and run them down for real. Make sure they ain't go in the house and kill himself. So on some news feed, there was a white man that responded to something that I said. And no, he said that he was saying something about black people killing each other. So I said, well, white folks just killed each other over what should have at the most been a snow fight. He writes back and says, well, at least a child didn't get killed. It wasn't a drive-by. So I was like, oh, white people even do wrong right. Okay. And so I gave him some advice. I said, you might want to check your hate and your racism. You going, if you can really respond in that way, something ain't right. So it was okay for them to kill each other. But when black people kill each other, it's just the worst, most horrendous. We're animals. We're, just the scum of the earth. Of course, he had nothing else to say. But what I will say to that is this. Wrong is wrong, no matter who's behind the gun, who's behind the evil intentions. It doesn't matter. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And there is no levels. And there is no, little white wrongs. Murder is murder. Senseless murder is senseless. Whether it's a child or it's adults shoveling snow. It's been a very interesting year. It really has. I've had some health challenges that I fought diligently to come back to myself, and I'm still dealing with those. But I refuse to allow those challenges to keep me from living my life. If I wake up with a breath, we're going to go with that. I'm supposed to be alive. And that's just how I look at it. Every day that I open my eyes, okay, you get a chance to do this again, whatever this is. But your intention is to be the best person that you could be, as loving as you could possibly be, understanding, caring, productive, and to mind my own business. I was in the doctor's office yesterday, Thursday morning, getting some blood drawn. And I got a chance to witness white privilege at its worst. Man comes in to get some blood drawn. He got a pamphlet where he's, he got all his information about what he's supposed to get drawn. And he noticed that the doctor didn't ask to have blood tests done on his magnesium. So he says to the technician, I want you to take a little more blood and I want you to have it tested for the magnesium level. The technician says, I cannot do that. He says, yes, you can. He took that tone with her, that authoritarian, patriarchal. What did I say? Yes, you can. She said, no, I can't, sir. It just happened to be a more assertive tech, a nurse practitioner in there. And she said, sir, no, she cannot do that. So then he still says, yes, she can. So and so, he drops a name. So and so can do it. I want to talk to her. So the more assertive technician, then by this time she's enraged. I mean, she came flying through there and she didn't know she was talking to his wife. You know how sometimes when we get mad, we just start talking to anybody. So she looks at her, she said, I don't know. She don't have that kind of juice. She can't tell him what to do. I don't know who he think he is. So the wife just sat there and look, she didn't say nothing. But she sort of was happy that this woman was putting him in his place. I noticed that on her face too. So she ran out to go get the name that he dropped. She was with somebody. So she said, came back and said, I left a note on her desk. So the woman went on where she went. Then the name drop person came and he stands up with his little pad and he's doing this. And I noticed, I asked her to take more blood. She should have extra blood to be able to take this test. And so the name drop person said, we can't do that. And then his shoulders dropped because he was just so sure that she was going to usurp the rules and regulations of the institution for him. It's real, y'all. Down to the minutest thing. I'm in Walmart. This white man coming, but I was going. He coming this way. I'm going this way, and I saw him speeding up, and I just kept on going. Really? Did you think I was going? You gonna have to hit me. So for what reason? I'm already midway going this way, but you gonna speed up? Did you think I was gonna stop and back up and let you go first? And my daughter happened to be with me. So I told her, I said, this is a common practice, especially for black white men. When you in the store, you watch this. You pay attention to it. I'd be doggone if it didn't happen 2 more times while we was in the store there. And then when she went to the store the next day, she came home and told me, Mom, a white man did that, tried to do that to me again. Not today. It's not your grandfather's America. And that's what they really mad. They got the nerve to be mad because they cannot oppress a people, that they cannot intimidate us. What does that say about you? That you're upset that you can't mistreat somebody, that you're upset that laws are in place to keep you from mistreating people. But you want to say that we complain, and you're so willing to give me something to complain about. The Sharon Osbournes, you know, the Pierce Morgans, the little sexually frustrated racists, the policeman that kneeled on George's neck, you know, all these people have had uh, experiences where they were allowed to believe that they somehow were entitled to treat people of color a certain way. Pierce mad because Megan wouldn't let him interview her. It really just comes down to that. That she had enough self-respect to know to not sit in front of this man. Don't honor him with your presence. And he proved that he wanting to hurt her in some type of way with his actions. You could say the little white boy was sexually frustrated, but not so much as he was a murderer. He wasn't sexually frustrated enough to just find somebody to have some sex with. He had murderous tendencies, and he killed 8 people because of them. He had access to the equipment to allow him to extinguish the lives of other people. Now, there was recently a shooting in my neighborhood. I'm laying in the bed. I know exactly what time it was. It was 9:59, almost 10 o'clock, and all of a sudden I hear pa 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 pa, like 20 shots. And at first it sounded like it was close but far. And then it turns out that it's across the street from me, three houses down. 15-year-old girl shot in her home. It's other children, an infant in the house, and at least 3 or 4 more other kids. I have no idea what happened or why, or none of that. But what I do know is that safety is an illusion. Because I'm sure 10, 15, 30, 45, 60 minutes before the shooting, they probably thought they were safe in their house. We need to stop focusing on safety as much as focusing on who's in our circle and why are these people allowed to be in our circle and are they worthy of being in our circle. Why there's just a lot of questions surrounding that situation because there was an adult in the house. Where were you? Because in my house, if it get quiet, long as they laughing and talking and all of that, I know, okay, cool. But if it get tired, there's some shenanigans going on. And I was the mother that would be like, "What's going on?" That's my phrase still to this day. What y'all doing that you should not be doing? Because you awfully quiet. And 9 times out of 10, teenagers are not and young kids it's even worse. Doing something they ain't got no business doing. You have to be vigilant, even in your own home. You have to know what's going on. You have to care enough. You can't just be glad that your kid's quiet. That's how these kids be building bombs in their parents' house. They just glad that they ain't bothering them. And they done sit up and built a whole bomb or making plans to go shoot up a school or, to rob some. You don't know. Really, how do these things happen within your household? It's not about being perfect or thinking that you're better than anybody else. It's about understanding what your responsibilities are as a parent, as a guardian, as the person that is in charge of your household. How do you not know that there's a gun in your house and that there's somebody in that house that's capable of using that gun? No, I didn't know everything, but I was on top of most things. And then I had the kind of relationship with my children that even though I never purposely tried to make them feel guilt, they did. And they would tell on themselves. My husband was the same way. And that's because of my genuineness and my authentic approach to relationships that they would say in their mind, Mom don't deserve this. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to tell her about this. You know, Mom, I was going to do this, but I decided, that, that wouldn't be right. You do. Let me like, right now. What? But why was you even was gonna do it? Can we talk about that? I'm glad you came and told me that you aborted the mission, but let's talk about why you even went there. What influenced you? Whatever. We don't talk to each other. We talk at each other. We ignore each other. You know, and ultimately, out of this conversation, what I really hope that comes across is the theme of humanity. That's. I have to put my glasses on, see what time it is. Theme of humanity. It's really important that we recognize our humanity. And if someone has not treated you well, instead of dwelling on that fact, do what you need to do to heal from that. And you recognize that you're worthy. You recognize that you deserve appreciation and understanding and caring. And you take up that cause for yourself. It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to think highly of yourself no matter what somebody else told you or how they treated you down the line. Ultimately, like Kirk's 33-year-old son, ultimately, it's up to you to choose the life that you want. And it's up to you to do what you need to do to manifest that. Plain and simple. And if you were not given the tools, there's help. Start with Google. Google how to parent myself. Put that in and see what all the stuff that you come up with. You'd be surprised. But what you don't do is you don't continue to hold people accountable, because guess what? If they didn't give you what you needed at the time when you needed it, they probably didn't know how to, didn't have the tools to, or just wasn't going to do it. It's just that simple. And from what Kirk's ex woman, they was teenagers when they had him. But she's definitely said, we've done what we could to try to rectify this. But it sounds like y'all was placating him for him to be able to resort to what he did to try to destroy his father's reputation, because he cursed out his 33-year-old lazy ass son for disrespecting him. Now, he could have went upside his head. He could have did a whole lot of things. He should be glad he just cursed him out. Sure. Some things need to be done. Some people need to be cursed out. Plain and simple. Miss me with all of this craziness. You're an adult. Do what you supposed to do. I have a Facebook friend, and she's a narcissist. She gets in everybody's business. She thinks she has the answer to everything. But when somebody pushes back on her, she is so unable to see herself that she gets mad, and then she writes these long posts on Facebook trying to get people to agree with her egregiousness. What you did was wrong. And so what you trying to disguise your button in other people's business as you trying to help them? Most grown people don't want you to help them unless they ask you for help. And why you gonna assume that you have the answer to my problem without asking me? Can I make a suggestion, or can I tell you what I did when I was in this situation? That's how you approach grown people. You don't talk to them like they children, telling them what they need to do and what they should have did and they could have did, and if they had done this might be that. Mind your own business, you know? And then at the same time, Your life is jacked up. You're not even happy with your own situation. And you so full of yourself, you put that out there too. So why should I believe that you have the answer for me when you don't have the answer for you? Listen, I'm doing this just to hopefully that something that I might say might help a person make a decision that they were sitting on. But most of all, I want you to know that you are worthy and that you should love yourself and that you are capable of being the best that you could be, but you're going to have to do your work. It's not just going to come to you. It don't just come to anybody. Self-reflection, self-awareness, self-love, having confidence, and believing that you are here because you can do it. Whatever that is that's on your heart that you want to do. But if you think that you have to be a certain way, talk a certain way, have a certain amount of money, oh, bring in that's the other thing. And I got these last few minutes. I watched that program Time, and I didn't look at it for a while because I didn't want to hear that they had done the crime that caused this man to get 60 years in jail. And then kind of find out they did. They robbed a bank. They was already where they wanted to be. They had opened up a store, but they wanted more. So they decided they're gonna rob a bank. What they had wasn't good enough. And she opens up by saying that if she could redo it, she would realize that we had everything that we needed from the beginning. And most of the times that we do, but it's our greed and our desire to have more of nothing, because things are nothing if you don't have love and the people that you love in your life, if you don't have self-respect and personal integrity, if you don't have the ability to control yourself and to harness your emotions, if you don't have the wisdom to know that it's love that makes the difference ultimately, all the money in the world, all the prestige, all the fame and the fortune means nothing. And they found that out. So he ended up getting a 60-day sentence. But she felt like, that he had done enough time. But his ego was so out of there. They gave him a deal to only do 12 years. He gonna take a trial. So he ended up with the 60 years. Left this woman with 6 kids. She did 12 years and was able to get out and, be with her children. But what was interesting, uh, ultimately, was the white lawyer said, I think they mad because you're not coming to them asking for this pardon, begging, that you're not on your knees, that you're coming to them demanding that they let him go, that you're saying that he's done enough time. And I thought to myself, that is a whole lot of nerve considering he did the crime. That is a whole lot of nerve considering that they offered him 12 years and he rather roll the dice and end up with 60. But then I thought, we some bold, beautiful people. Because that's definitely what her attitude was. I want my man home. Period. And she fought and she fought and she was able to do it. So this is what I suggest. If you're watching this and you're thinking about doing a crime, do more research on what's going to happen if you get caught. Because her diligence worked out for her, but it may not work out for you. You know, think about the consequences of your actions. Stand on your humanity. Recognize the humanity in others. Do your best to be the best. Think before you act. And then once you act, be willing to accept the consequences of whatever that may be, even if it's a positive thing. There's consequences that, can stifle people. You see people all the time. They want to be rappers and singers and actors, and they got all the money and what they still not happy. They think about the consequences of what it would take to uphold those images and to live that life. and have gratitude. Be grateful. Man, when you be grateful, you all find out, guess what? You had enough all the time. Peace.